Hi, I'm John Munro and I'm the Liberal Democrat parliamentary candidate for Weston-super-Mare and the Villages. There are around 44,000 households in our constituency, and though I'm going to be trying my best to knock on as many doors as possible between now and the general election, I'm obviously not going to be able to speak to everybody face to face. So I asked a question on the social networking site Street Life if anybody had any questions they'd like answers to before polling day. We've got a number of questions in already, and you can also send your questions to me via Twitter @JohnPeterMunro or email me on john@johnmunro.org.uk. So let's start with the first question. And the first question comes from Mum of Two, who'd like to know what my views are on Burnbeck Pier. Like most local people, I'm very proud that Weston-super-Mare has such an iconic piece of architecture in Burnbeck Pier, and it is a great shame that it has been left for so long to basically crumble into the sea. There are some great local campaigning efforts going on to save the old pier, and I am absolutely behind any effort that means the pier will be saved for future generations. I do think though we need to make sure as local people that we don't make the best the enemy of the good. And what I mean by that is we've got to perhaps accept that we might not necessarily agree with 100% of what is proposed to save the pier, but the important thing is that that structure is saved for future generations. So Jill B has asked quite a few questions, the first of which is what my views are on local infrastructure. Weston benefits from having some great transport links. We've got two motorway junctions that serve the town, we've got an airport not very far away, and we also have a direct train from London. These things are valuable assets which need to be protected in the future, especially our train links to the capital. So if I'm elected, I'll make sure I do all that I can to maintain and improve our connections to the rest of the country, because only by having great transport connections can we make sure businesses invest locally, and that's the only way we can grow high quality jobs in our area. And her next question is about policies to look after senior citizens in our area. I was really pleased on Saturday when the Liberal Democrats announced our Care Closer to Home fund, which is a really big fund, £2.5 billion, which means the NHS will be able to look after older people closer to where they live, in their own homes or in local care facilities, so that they don't have to be looked after in hospital, blocking beds from other NHS users. It also really improves the quality of care and the quality of recovery for older people if they can be looked after closer to their own home, in their own home, where their friends and family can help with their recovery. Jill's also asked about policies to replace convalescent homes in the local area. This is something that's looked after by the local council, and Liberal Democrats in local government will be prioritising social care. It's very important that on May the 7th you vote for as many Liberal Democrats as possible in your area, so that we can make sure that priorities like ensuring care for elderly local residents are at the top of the list. Jill's next question is about services for the disabled and mentally ill. The Liberal Democrats are the only party committed to funding the NHS with the £8 billion it will need to continue to deliver high quality care over the next 5 years. And we've also said how we're going to pay for it. We're going to be asking the richest in our society to contribute a little bit more through the tax system by doing things like closing loopholes in capital gains tax rules, for example. We're also going to make sure we balance the books and cut the deficit to make sure the funding continues to be available for the NHS instead of paying for things like debt interest and debt repayments. This will mean high quality services available for the disabled, but we're also the only party to be putting mental health on the front page of our manifesto. We are passionate that for too long mental health has been treated as a taboo in our society, and we want to break that down. We will be investing in mental health services across the NHS, and we were also the first political party in Britain to introduce waiting time standards for mental health. We want to see mental health treated exactly the same in our NHS as physical health. And finally from Jill, she asks what I'll do to protect free bus passes for pensioners. Jill, the Liberal Democrats have no plans to remove free bus travel from senior citizens, and it's something we will fight to make sure continues. And we have a question from Elaine R about Dolphin Square. Like many local people, I found it extremely frustrating that Dolphin Square has been a building site for the last 2 years. It's really important that the developers get on and provide the amenities that our town centre needs. We've been let down for the last 2 years by our Member of Parliament, who's done seemingly nothing to work with the developers and the council to get a solution to this particular problem. Another one of Jill B's questions now, but she's also joined in asking it by Gary S, and this one is on tuition fees. The Liberal Democrats weren't able to keep to our manifesto promise from the last general election on tuition fees. When we got into government, we discovered it just wasn't possible. However, we fought to make sure the system that was implemented was as fair as possible. Gary mentions in his question that the new arrangement for fees is why his son isn't going to university. Gary, this absolutely shouldn't be the case. University students don't pay their fees until after they graduate, and even then they pay it at a tapered rate depending on what they earn. This system means university is affordable for anybody with the ability and the desire to go. But don't take my word for it. Visit the independent money saving expert website, the address for which is on screen now. It gives details of how much students will be expected to pay back after they graduate. It shows that high earners will have to pay back much more than those who earn less after they graduate. Thanks very much for your questions. I'll be posting a video every Sunday answering the questions you've asked me during the week. You can ask me questions on the social networking site Street Life, via Twitter @JohnPeterMonroe, or by email john@johnmonroe.org.uk. Thanks very much and have a happy Easter.